back to my YouTube channel. So in our subsequent videos we have seen some of the important concepts around IAM roles, how to create the service account, how to assign various roles to the service account, and in this particular video we are going to see how to create the authentication keys that are tagged to a service account. So just to recap, since you already know, in our last video we have created this service account called as GCP dev, and at the rate then GCP dev our project ID specific domain name that GCP gives or GCP assigns us. Now even we have already seen that how to assign various roles to this particular service account. Like if you see this service account, currently it has two roles. One is BigQuery data editor and the another one is Cloud SQL admin. And if you want to add some permissions, modify some permissions, like if you let's say wanted to delete something, then you will go here to edit principal, do the changes. If you want to add any other role, click here, add the role. If you want to delete anything which is existing, you can just delete these roles from here and then save it. For now I'm canceling it, and let's go ahead and see how to create the keys for a service account. So for this again you should land here in the IAM and admin, and inside that click on the service accounts. So here you should see the service account. So if you click on these three vertical dots that are present under the actions tab, then there are lots of options that will pop up, which will help you and which will suggest you what all things you can do with a service account. So basically if you click on this manage keys, then it will get you at the keys tab. So these are some of the details that are presented regarding the service account. Like this is the one which gives you all the names, and if you wanted to do some kind of advanced settings on service account, then permissions, and this is the tab where you can configure your own keys. Now why we need these keys? If you remember earlier we talked about that using service account, let's say application wants to access some of the GCP resources, like for example GCS or BigQuery or Bigtable, right? Then those particular applications should be authorized enough to access those resources, fair enough, right? So this authorization or authentication is done through something called a service account. This you already know, but how to actually do that, or what are the process to do that? There are multiple ways to do the service account authentication, but the easy way to do this is by using the keys. So when I say by using the keys, the first step towards doing this kind of a service account authentication is by adding the key. So what you do is come to this keys tab, click on add keys, click on create new key. The recommended type is JSON. P12 is again kind of some kind of file types which is Google has given just to make sure it backward compatibility happens for the code whichever using the P12 format. But don't worry about it, let's just go ahead with the JSON and click on create. What this will do is it will create a key, and it will ask you that if you want to save the key contents or not. So if you see this, I'll show you the contents of the key soon, but if you see this, this is what the key is added here. This is the key ID, and the status of the key is active. Now let's take a look at what exactly the contents of the keys are. So if you see this file, this is a JSON, and as you know we have downloaded the JSON key, right? So basically this is the JSON file which is acting as a key, and it has some sort of details that what is the type of this particular key, which is service account, what is the project ID for which this key is being created, right? So it is GCP dev 409815, which is the project ID of the project that we are currently using. Private key ID, so this is something which is very important. This is acting as a private key ID, and these are the actual contents of the private key. So using this particular file, what you can do is, let's consider you have a Python script and you wanted it to authenticate with the BigQuery, right? And if you see this, if you see the permissions to this particular service account, right? This service account, GCP at the rate IAM service account, is having the role of BigQuery data editor and Cloud SQL admins. What does this means is, this service account, or using this service account, one should be able to access BigQuery data editor and Cloud SQL admin resources, right? Whatever permissions that are being present inside these two roles, if somebody uses this service account, they are also authorized to use the resources which are permitted for the access for these two roles. Now, if I somehow get my application, which is a Python application, to use this particular service account, right? So that my Python application also is authorized or is allowed to use these two roles and whatever permissions that are present inside these two roles. So using service account, now this service account is already authorized to use these two roles, or use or do whatever things that are permitted for these two roles. Now what we need to do, we need to establish the connection between our Python application and the service account. So this particular connection is established using something called as service account keys. So again, I'm going to manage keys, and this is the key we have created. So in your application, in your Python code, if you do the service account authentication, now how to do the service account authentication and whatnot, we will see it in an actual Python code. But for now, just remember this, that in a Python code there is a way to do the service account authentication by using this particular key. And once you do that, your Python application is authorized to use the service account, and service account is authorized to do whatever is being permitted because it has those two rules, right? So I hope you must have understood this particular concept. Just to summarize, here, let's say, so we have three components, right? One is say your Python, then you have your GCP resources like GCS, or let me call it as GCP products. Now what ultimately we wanted to do, we want to, using our Python script, we wanted to access the GCP products, but the direct bit connection is not, cannot happen because of all the security reasons. Like GCP products cannot be accessed by something which is, blunt, and which is like openly available on internet. So there has to be some kind of security mechanism that needs to be, that needs to happen in between these two before my Python code is allowed to connect to the GCP products. It has to be, and using service accounts, we should be able to do the authentication. Now we have created this service account, and this service, since this service account is created within GCP console, right? So the whatever roles that we have given to this particular service account are, so my long story short, the service account is authorized to use the resources within the GCP products. And how it happens, it happens through a roles that we have assigned. So currently we have assigned, let's say, BigQuery data editor role. So whatever permissions that are assigned to a BigQuery data editor role, the service account is authorized to do that. Now what we have created the key for the service account, the JSON key which I showed you. Now if we use that key in our Python code, right, if we use this key that we have created inside the service account, and if we do the service account authentication using the key that we have created, then your Python code or your Python application is authorized to use this service account because it has been already authenticated by using the key, right? So now your Python code can access the service account, your service account can access the GCP product based on the rules. So this is how this connection happens, that you query, let's say you wanted to run some queries in BigQuery, right? So you write that query in Python code, make sure you do the service account authentication using the JSON key, and then using service account you can run the actual query onto your BigQuery instance. Okay, we will demonstrate this particular thing in a Python code in the subsequent videos, and I hope you have understood this concept. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.